For weeks, a feverish excitement had brewed among viewers, a simmering anticipation that reached its boiling point as the night approached for Caroline Leavitt's debut on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. At just 27, she held the distinction of being the youngest White House press secretary in history, her Gen Z flair, bold, unapologetic, and dripping with modern swagger, matched only by her fierce, unshakable loyalty to Donald Trump. She wasn't merely the polished face of a conservative administration. She was a lightning rod, a spark igniting endless debates. Trump had just embarked on his second term, and already the air was thick with contention. His audacious moves, like banning AP and Reuters from cabinet meetings, slapping tariffs on Canada, and brokering a divisive Russia-Ukraine deal, had critics howling. Every time Caroline took the podium, she fanned the flames, her words a wildfire, from her viral quip, "Canada's on its knees," to transforming the White House TikTok into a sensation that swept the internet. To some, she was Trump's puppet, her youthful glow a mask for the administration's stumbles. To others, she was a revolutionary voice. Stephen Colbert, never one to dodge a fight, had sworn to peel back her layers in this interview. A clash that felt less like a conversation and more like a duel for survival. Before we plunge into this electrifying tale, let me know where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a heartbeat of these gripping stories. The studio lights blazed as the applause rolled in like thunder, barely fading when Caroline Leavitt stepped onto the stage. Her blonde hair shimmered like a halo under the spotlight, cascading over a dark ensemble that whispered sophistication, yet screamed Gen Z rebellion. An oversized jacket draping her frame, paired with crisp white sneakers that gleamed with every step. A confident smile danced on her lips, soft and inviting, but her eyes, oh, those eyes, cut like sharpened steel, alive with a fire that promised she was ready for battle. The audience erupted, a symphony of cheers laced with boos from those who loathed the Trump machine she championed. With a graceful wave, she sank into the chair across from Colbert, her posture relaxed yet coiled, a panther poised to pounce. Stephen leaned forward, his signature half-smile flickering, a mask of charm hiding the storm brewing beneath. "Caroline, welcome to the show," he began, his voice warm but edged with a knowing glint in his eyes. 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever. Pretty dazzling. But tell me, does working for Donald Trump ever feel like cradling a man who refuses to leave the sandbox? Laughter burst from the crowd, sharp and approving, a few whistles piercing the air. Caroline let out a soft, melodic laugh, unshaken, her gaze locking with his. "Thanks for the warm welcome, Stephen," she replied, her tone smooth as silk, but laced with a quiet edge. "But no, I'm not cradling anyone. I stand beside the GOAT, the greatest of all time. He's stitching America's soul back together, and I'm here to weave that truth into every heart that'll listen." Her words hung in the air, tender yet defiant, a romantic pledge to her cause. Colbert arched an eyebrow, refusing to let her slip away so easily. "The GOAT, huh? Fascinating choice," he mused, his voice dipping into a playful challenge. "But speaking of saving America, last week you said, 'Canada's on its knees' when Trump hit them with tariffs. Is that your idea of a love letter to our neighbors, or just flexing muscle to make hearts race?" He crossed his arms, the audience hushing, eyes glued to her. Caroline tilted her head, her smile unwavering, a spark of mischief in her eyes. "Stephen, you want to dance with economics? Let's twirl," she said, her voice a gentle caress with a razor's bite. "Canada leans on us like a lover who can't let go. We're their strength. Tariffs are our heartbeat, our leverage, and it's working. Trump plays tough because he loves this country too much to let it falter. I'm here to whisper the truth. We rise, they kneel, no cap." Scattered applause bloomed from one corner, a soft chorus of support, but murmurs of dissent rippled through the rest, a bittersweet melody of division. Colbert nodded, feigning agreement before striking again, his tone sharpening like a blade drawn from its sheath. "No cap. I adore that Gen Z spark of yours, Caroline. But let's talk truth. Your administration banned AP and Reuters from cabinet meetings last month. Is that how Trump wins? By silencing the voices that dare to question, leaving the press gasping for air? His eyes locked onto hers, a hunter cornering his prey. Karoline didn't flinch. She straightened, her hands gesturing lightly, as if painting her words in the air. "Stephen, don't twist this into a tragedy," she countered, her voice steady, a quiet storm. "We're not silencing anyone. AP and Reuters were cut because they don't sing the truth. They compose anti-Trump ballads, twisting facts into fiction. Americans don't trust those old melodies anymore. We're curating who steps into our circle to ensure the message reaches the hearts that matter. That's not censorship. It's a vibe check for the press, a love song to trust we're rewriting." She paused, her gaze piercing him, a dare wrapped in velvet. "Ever heard of trust, Stephen? We're stitching it back into the fabric of this nation." Colbert's laugh was sharp, a brittle note in the charged air. "A vibe check for the press. Such a poetic way to say you're controlling the story." He shot back, leaning closer, his voice a low growl. "Press freedom is America's heartbeat, Karoline. Not something you and Trump filter like a TikTok guest list." The audience roared with laughter, hands clapping in rhythm with his words, a few whistles soaring above the din. "You say Americans don't trust the media, but do they trust a government that handpicks who gets to speak?" Her smile shifted, a defiant curve blooming on her lips. "Stephen, are you stuck in the 90s, pining for a lost era?" she teased, her voice a playful lilt laced with steel. "Americans trust us because they see the love in our actions. Jobs blossoming, the economy humming, peace settling like a soft dusk. Trump doesn't need dusty media to prove his heart, and neither do I. With X, TikTok, and my 728,000 followers, I whisper straight to their souls. You call it control? I call it cutting out the faded middleman who's lost his tune." Her arms crossed, her eyes blazing like twin flames. A romantic warrior daring him to challenge her love for her mission. "If you want to talk freedom, ask why your media keeps spinning one-sided tales instead of letting hearts decide." The studio air thickened, heavy with tension, like a lover's quarrel reaching its crescendo. Applause and boos wove together, a chaotic symphony of passion and fury. Colbert's half-smile lingered, but his eyes sharpened, glinting like a blade as he tapped the desk, leaning in like a suitor pressing his case. "Cutting out the outdated middleman. I hear you, Karoline, but let's linger on this press thing," he said, his tone even but brimming with intent. "You say AP and Reuters aren't honest, so they're banned. Is that how a transparent love story unfolds, or is it a White House afraid to bare its soul to those bold enough to ask?" The audience stilled, breath held, awaiting her reply. Karoline tilted her head, a smirk blooming like a rose with thorns. "Stephen, are you trying to cast me as the villain in this romance?" she began, her voice soft but cutting deep. "I'll paint it clear for you and every heart here. We're not muzzling anyone. AP and Reuters aren't banned for asking. They're banned because they don't reflect. They distort, spinning tales that break America's trust. We're not hiding. We're saying, if you want to dance in our light, play fair. That's not control. It's devotion to the people over old media like you." Applause surged from one side, fierce and unwavering, but the boos countered just as strong, a tempest of clashing desires. Colbert's eyebrow lifted, his voice rising with a hint of sarcasm, a lover scorned. "Play fair?" he echoed. "Karoline, you call the world's biggest news outlets dishonest. Then say your administration, hardly a beacon of openness, gets to judge truth. Don't you see the irony? Press freedom isn't an Instagram friends list, you prune." Laughter erupted, sharp and approving, as he crossed his arms, daring her to sway him. She didn't waver, sitting taller, her gestures flowing like a love letter to her audience. "Stephen, if we're talking irony, look in the mirror," she replied, her voice a gentle rebuke. "You sit here, raking in millions, mocking others, then play the night of freedom. I grew up in New Hampshire, middle-class dreams in my veins. My parents sold ice cream and drove used trucks to cradle me. I know America's heartbeat better than your ivory tower newsrooms or millionaire stage. We banned AP and Reuters not to hide, but to shield the truth from their twisted pens. Trump's pouring his soul into the people, not your headlines." Her gaze swept the crowd, pulling them into her embrace, and the applause swelled. A lover's cheer, though dissent still murmured beneath. Colbert's laugh was dry, a hollow note in the storm. "Oh, Caroline, your story's a tearjerker," he said, his tone biting. "But you didn't answer. If Trump's so transparent, why not let the press breathe? Why cherry-pick who gets in? It feels like a government terrified of its own shadow, not guarding some sacred truth." She smiled, defiant and radiant. "Stephen, you're steering this ship, but I'm not sinking," she countered, her voice a steady flame. "We're not scared of shadows. We're tired of wasting breath on those who twist light into lies. Americans have abandoned old media's song. They're on X, TikTok, where I sing straight to their hearts. My 728,000 followers aren't there for fairy tales, but for raw, real love. If you want transparency, ask why your media keeps scripting one-sided sonnets instead of letting people feel the truth." Her arms crossed, her gaze a challenge. A romantic rebel daring him to strike again. The studio pulsed like a beating heart, the air so dense it clung to the skin. Colbert leaned forward, hands braced on the desk, his mocking smile fading into a stern, almost furious line. "Caroline, I've heard enough of your TikTok serenades," he said, his voice low and cutting, a blade through the haze. "You say you're rewriting the world, but I see a press secretary complicit in unraveling America's soul. You're not just serving Trump. You're selling out Gen Z, turning them into pawns for a man choking freedom to cling to power. What do you say to that?" His words landed like a thunderclap, the audience gasping, a few cries mingling with liberal applause. Caroline sat still, her eyes hardening, then her lips curved into a cold, dangerous smile. A lover scorned, ready to fight. "Stephen, you dare call me complicit in breaking democracy?" she began, her voice soft but trembling with a storm's edge. "You, perched in your millionaire tower, pretending to cradle freedom while profiting off America's fractures? Trump saved this nation from the ruins you left, and I'm here to shield him, not bow to faded voices like yours." Applause roared from the conservative side, a tidal wave drowning liberal boos, a man shouting, "Caroline's our flame," as another raised a hand in protest. She pressed on, gesturing like she was pouring her heart live to the world. "You cry democracy? Every night you choose who's mocked, who's the villain in your tale. I grew up with calloused hands in New Hampshire. No silver spoons, just raw love. Gen Z craves a nation that stands tall, not one bent by your media's strings. Trump delivers that, and I'm proud to stand in his light. You call it selling out? I call it a love worth winning. No cap." Colbert leaned back, tapping the desk, caught off guard by her ferocity but rallying. "Winning," he echoed, sarcasm dripping like honey. "You're a poet, Caroline, but I'm not here for your roots or Trump's deeds. I'm asking about you. You stand at that podium, justifying press bans, divisive walls, turning politics into a social media waltz. You think Gen Z wants freedom traded for tariffs and TikTok? You're crafting a regime, not a romance." His eyes flashed, a final blow aimed at her heart. She laughed, cold and scornful, sitting straighter, her gestures a dance of defiance. "Stephen, you call Trump a regime? I won't sit here while you paint me a traitor," she shot back, her voice a rising tide. "I'm not building a cage. I'm forging a future. Gen Z doesn't need your sanctimonious lectures. They crave jobs, safety, a nation that bows to no one. Trump ends wars, revives dreams, and I'm here to sing that truth. You say I'm undermining democracy? No, I'm tearing down the decayed husk you cling to, a system that's failed us too long." A memory flickered in her mind. July 2024, the grueling birth of her son, days after Trump's near assassination in Pennsylvania. She'd returned to his side, her loyalty a fire forged in pain, now burning in every word. "I'm a mother, Stephen," she added, her voice dropping, a tender steel. "I fight not just for Trump, but for my son, for his world. You don't feel that. You just jest. But I don't bend, never." The studio erupted, conservative applause a thunderous vow, drowning liberal dissent, a chorus of love and fury. Colbert leaned back, hands off the desk, a flicker of unease in his eyes before he steadied. A mother, huh? He said, sarcasm softening into a low jab. I respect that, Caroline. But don't wield your son to justify strangling freedom. You say you're tearing down the old. I see you torching what makes America sing. Gen Z will bear that cost. He leaned closer, resolve blazing. Are you sure you're building a future, or just burning it to ash? She smiled cold and unyielding, a flame unquenched. Stephen, you want to tug at heartstrings? I'm certain. Every day I see America bloom. Jobs, peace, a spine unbowed. You say I'm burning the future? No, I'm torching the past you clutch, a relic Gen Z's outgrown. They're not paying. They're rising, and I'm their voice. Accuse me all you want. I won't apologize for love that wins. Her arms crossed, her eyes twin infernos. The studio a tempest of sound. Applause and boos, a lover's clash. A woman screaming, Caroline, our queen, as dissent muttered beside her. The air crackled as Colbert took a breath, leaning forward, his voice a low, loaded whisper. You talk winning and futures, Caroline, he began. So let's linger on a Trump victory you cherish. The Russia deal ending Ukraine's war. You call it peace, others call it surrender. Is bowing to Putin how you make America's heart soar? The question fell heavy, the audience hushing, eyes on her. She tilted her head, a smirk blooming like a secret shared. Stephen, you say Trump bowed to Putin? She replied, her voice a soft, sharp caress. No cap, you're weaving fiction. We didn't surrender, we wove peace. Trump sat with Russia, a leader's dance, and Ukraine's fields no longer weep blood. You call that bowing? I call it triumph. For America, for the world. Would you rather war rage on, just to give your media a dirge to sing? Applause surged, resolute and warm, a man shouting, Peace is ours, before boos drowned him out. Colbert shook his head, a faint smile sharpening. Peace is ours. Pretty words, Caroline, he said, sarcasm a velvet glove. But Russia keeps Crimea, Ukraine's scarred, and Putin's laughing. Whose triumph? Not ours, not theirs. Trump let Russia waltz away. Doesn't that chill your heart? Her laugh was light, disdainful, as she gestured, weaving her truth. Stephen, you're sketching shadows, but I'll light the way. Trump didn't let Russia win. He ended a nightmare you watched fester. Crimea, a wound from before, he healed what he could. You'd rather bleed our wealth into endless war? We chose peace, and America's heart beats for it. Prove they hate this, or stop spinning ghost stories. Her eyes locked on his, a lover's challenge. Colbert nodded, a spark flaring in his gaze. Ghost stories? No, Caroline, just truths you dodge, he countered, voice rising. Caving to Putin's no strength, it's a crack in our soul. You say Americans want peace, but not by kneeling. You cheer Canada's fall, then deny Russia's rise. Where's your thread? The audience clapped, whistles soaring. She smiled, cold and precise. Stephen, let's untangle your game, she said, her voice a steady flame. Canada kneels because we're mightier. That's our love's leverage. Russia, Ukraine? Trump didn't cave. He outsmarted the chaos, ending bloodshed with a strategist's grace. You call it kneeling? I call it leading, a dance you can't follow. We're soaring forward with X, TikTok, my 728,000 hearts beating with us. Her arms crossed, daring him anew, as applause thundered, a woman crying, Trump's genius, amid dissent's mutter. Colbert leaned back, tapping the desk, unsatisfied. Leading, such a starry-eyed excuse for letting Putin glide, he quipped, sarcasm sharp. You spin everything into a social media crown. Are you sure Americans want peace if foes mock us? She laughed, gesturing like a live stream to her soul. Stephen, you cling to foes mocking us, but I'm not swayed, she replied, her voice a rising tide. Americans crave peace, and Trump delivered, not by bending, but by standing tall. I'm not hiding. I'm here, winning on every stage because I'm their truth. The war's done, jobs bloom, America shines. You don't like it? Too bad. We don't need your nod. Her eyes blazed, unyielding, as the studio roared, conservative love overpowering liberal scorn. Colbert took a deep breath, leaning forward, his voice a knife's edge. "You don't need my nod. I admire that fire, Caroline," he began. "But one last whisper. You're history's youngest press secretary. Ever feel like Trump's marionette, a youthful mask for when his world phrase? You talk bold, but have you a mind of your own?" The question struck, the audience gasping, liberal claps scattering. She sat still, then laughed, a bold, defiant song ringing out. "Stephen, a marionette?" she thundered, her voice low but resonant. "No cap, that's your cheapest strike, and I'm not bowing. I'm no puppet, I'm Trump's voice, Gen Z's heartbeat, millions you've forsaken. My mind's my own, and it sings America needs Trump, not your gilded critiques. I'm not his shield, I'm his flame, right in your gaze, defending his legacy." Applause erupted, a storm of devotion, a man shouting, "Caroline's truth," as dissent shook its head. "You think loyalty dims me?" she pressed, leaning forward, eyes aflame. "I grew up with nothing but grit, no strings, just love. I chose this, proud and fierce. Call it puppetry, I call it strength you can't snuff out." The studio quaked. Conservative cheers a tidal wave, drowning liberal murmurs. Colbert leaned back, hands off the desk, unease flickering before he steadied. "Strength," he echoed, sarcasm a thin veil. "You justify well, Caroline. But when Trump falters, do you ever say no, or just nod and tick-tock away?" His smirk flashed, a last trap. Her smile was cold, razor sharp. "Stephen, you want a no to prove I'm free? That's a child's ploy, and I'm not dancing," she shot back, her voice a steady blaze. "When Trump stumbles, I guide him true. He's rarely off, knowing America's pulse. I'm not here to nod. I'm here to sing our future, with Gen Z and Trump at the helm. You can't dim us. We win, you fade. Deal with it." Her eyes burned, unquenchable, as the studio exploded, conservative applause, a roaring sea, a woman crying, "Caroline reigns!" As the liberal boos drowned beneath, she rose, waving to the crowd. Her blonde hair a golden crown under the lights, her strides proud, white sneakers clicking a victor's rhythm. Colbert tapped the desk, a forced smile flickering. "Deal with it, huh?" he muttered, voice low. "Thanks, Caroline. Quite a night. We'll break for commercials." He faced the camera, composure fraying, eyes betraying frustration as the audience buzzed, electric and divided. She exited, her blazing gaze and radiant smile captured backstage, a queen unbowed. Colbert exhaled, addressing the crowd. "Folks, we'll return soon." His voice slightly off, the studio still trembling from their clash, a battle etched in time. Within moments, social media ignited. Row, Caroline fires back, soared on X. Posts flooding from both sides. Conservatives crowned her Gen Z's champion, one writing, "Caroline torched Colbert. Trump's got a star." Liberals struck back, a post blazing, "She's Trump's echo, arrogant, empty." TikTok and YouTube clips amassed millions of views, the press diving in. Fox News hailed her, "Young press secretary slays Colbert," while CNN countered, "Leavitt embodies Trump's haughty void." Neutral voices called it a Gen Z triumph, her modern flair outshining Colbert, though some warned of a White House-turned-media circus. Backstage, she posted on X, "Vibe check for Colbert. He flailed, we soared. Gen Z and Trump don't bend, no cap." It soared past 100,000 likes, her sneaker-clad exit a meme stamped, "Deal with it." Love her or loathe her, Karoline Leavitt had carved her mark, a romantic rebel wielding loyalty and tech to herald a new conservative dawn, a clash mirroring America's soul in 2025, where old ways collide with youthful fire, and winning means making hearts hear. Subscribe to catch the next chapter of this epic saga. See you soon for more vibe checks on America's Pulse.